Hello, guys. Welcome today, and today the topic is going to be taking risks. You might be wondering why we're wearing black, but there's actually a reason to that. Because
What is
today we're mourning the death of a risk-averse life. So we're mourning the death of a life without risks. Because today we're covering the topic taking risk, and we hope that by the end of this video, after watching this video, you would have taken something away from this video that then encourages you to always take risks in life, and then which is going to help to propel you to the next level in life.
We say take risks, but there's a difference between idiotic risks and calculated risks. Anything to add to that?
First of all, so we get everything into context, what is the definition of risk? Now I searched this up, and risk is defined as the possibility of something bad happening. So it's defined as the possibility of something bad happening. Now with that out the way, the next question is how to take risk. And like he said, there's a difference between idiotic risk and a calculated risk. Now, how do you...
Basically, an idiotic risk is a risk where you are almost definitely going to be the loser, whereas a calculated risk is, of course, a risk existing, but you know you're capable of overcoming that kind of obstacle to reach the target that you've set for yourself.
And even if you can't overcome that
there is
obstacle,
a fine line between idiotic risks and calculated risks.
absolutely.
A very fine line, because usually a risk, obviously, the higher the risk, the bigger the reward. And some people can get too greedy and risk too much, and they'll lose everything because they've risked just a bit too much. Whereas being calculative is risking just enough, knowing you're at the limit of a risk, where you're going to gain something from it. And then that's where you stop.
But sometimes as well, and I really want to ask you this, sometimes as well, you have situations where there's a choice you want to make, and you analyze the risks. Sometimes there's certain risks that you might not be able to, how will I say, deal with. It's a chance of failure, and it's a chance of failure that could literally stop that process. Do you get what I mean? So in the sense, okay, for example, say you were starting up a business idea.
Yes.
And there was a risk, like say that you could say what? You could lose all the money or something. Now, or that if you lose all the money, that business idea is dead.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you take that risk and start up that business, then you've got a whole empire of something going for you. So what I'm just getting at is sometimes after analyzing the risk, there might be some risks that are just, you can't really do anything about in that sense.
No, look, truthfully, with anything that you do, there will always be a risk. Now, what you can control, you can't control that, obviously. That part is out of your control.
Absolutely.
What you can control is limiting the amount of risks that you
to the bare minimum,
to the bare minimum. Obviously, there will always be something against you and a possibility that something can go wrong, but you can limit that by how much you've studied, how much you've experienced, how much you've talked to people to use your example in the business field.
Yeah.
Before starting up a business, obviously you want to talk to different people who failed, people who are successful, see what the difference is, see how different people have approached it. And based on that experience, you can eliminate a lot of risks.
Absolutely. And also, when you, like you said, when you analyze the risks, you know what to expect. So nothing comes to you by surprise. It's just like, for instance, when we started up, what's it called? On the Limit and also Beyond Brains. What was the risk? That people might not like it. Some people, but
some of them don't.
Like some people still don't.
Yeah.
And there was another risk that's, we might not have enough time for study. It might eat up our time for study, our time for rest, our time to do other things.
Which it does.
Yeah, exactly, and which it does. But we knew these risks going in. So it enabled us to be able to prepare ahead and, how we're going to deal with it when it came.
Yeah.
And that really helped us to really keep it going. Then the next thing, after analysing all the risks, that's how to take risk. So we've said it has to be calculated, not idiotic. Now, why should you take risk? What is the benefit of taking risk? Why should people, sort of sacrifice to take risk?
Okay, one, you don't live unless you take risks. I think it's very easy to live your life without taking any risks, but I'm sure that's not something that's enjoyable. It's not fun. You're just stagnant. You're not moving up or down. You know, you have nothing to
Absolutely.
prove to yourself, and that's nothing. That's always something negative, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Taking risks, obviously, the higher the risk, we said earlier, the higher the reward.
The higher the reward.
And obviously, if you take a calculated risk and you want a big award, or sorry, a big reward, and you achieve that reward, you know, it's something that just comes from experience. So a lot of things have to come together for you to achieve a target, let's say. So study, experience, being active, you know, a lot of things have to come together, and it's such a long list I can't go on because it depends on the particular task in hand. So yeah, basically you take risks, you're going to gain a lot.
Exactly.
You take too much risk, you're going to lose everything. You need to find the right balance. We always say you have to find the limit. And
Always
that's
the limit.
relative to people. So when I said earlier, there are two types of risks. You have idiotic and you have
Calculated.
calculated risks. That's relative to the particular task in hand. That's relative to skill set. And it's relative to many other factors as well.
Absolutely. And, you know, another point, and this kind of goes back to how, in a certain sense, and I think it's a very vital point. And I heard this somewhere, and it's saying that for your dreams to be able to come through, your dreams have to be bigger than your fears. So, in a sense, we can kind of reword it to say your dreams have to be bigger than the risks of failing. It's just like,
That's
for
good.
instance, you know, I suppose a good example, we can also go back to using Beyond Brains and On the Limit. What were our fears about this? Now, well, they kind of risk, you know, some people might misread us and misunderstand what we're doing and, you know, consider us as weirdos.
some of you
You know,
do.
exactly. We could, you know, like I said before, we could have suffered, our revision could have suffered. You know, that's
it
one of the
has.
failures. Exactly. But we found a way to work around it, and
Yeah.
now we're on top of it. So, and these were all the things that we expected coming into it. But why did we still go ahead? We went ahead because the dream was way bigger. The dream,
what's the dream?
The dream for On the Limit, for instance, creating an entertaining and competitive environment.
Why did we start
people.
On the Limit? On the Limit is a karting page.
Society
That's-
for our medical university.
That's
Yeah.
separate. But we thought about, okay, what's something completely different to what people are used to seeing on their feeds? Racing.
Yeah.
Racing is something new, something fresh, something exciting. Yeah, I think that's... hopefully, we hope one day to help or engage people. They don't have to be into racing, but it's something different on their feeds. You know, if they want
Absolutely.
to watch, they can watch. It's there. If they're not interested, you know, they can scroll down, but it's there. They have a different dimension to their newsfeed
Absolutely,
now.
and that was the dream. That's the big dream. That despite the fears, we pushed on and went ahead with it. For Beyond Brains, the dream was, you know,
To help
being
people.
able to give people that that rush of positivity, and you know that dream is way bigger than any failure that we could possibly encounter or
Yeah.
is attached to what we're doing with Beyond Brains, and that was what enabled us to kind of take it off from, you know, from ground level. Now, back to the point of why should you take risks? Another point is risks help you gain self-confidence, and also
But
it enables you to stand out.
true, but on the contrary, it can also help in destroying that self-confidence if you go overstep the mark in your
Oh, yeah, exactly. And that's why, you know, we mentioned On the Limit. Because as much as, you know, it can help you build self-confidence, if you don't do it the right way, if you don't take the right steps,
Yeah.
it can have the entirely opposite effect. And then you're in deep shit, basically. And also, it gains you self-respect.
It
Taking
does.
risk gives you, because when people see that, you know, you're not afraid to challenge the status quo, I feel, you know, it gives people that, you know, people respect you more. Do you agree with what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think to an extent, surely, in a positive way. If you're going against the status quo in a positive way, yeah, they'll respect
Yeah.
you. But I don't think they'll come up to you and say positive things. I think
Very
finally
good. Very good,
they'll
yeah.
respect you.
Most times people are not going to walk up to you and admit to you that, you know, we like what you're doing, we really respect you for you. You might get, you know, the odd person here and there, but generally, you know, people wouldn't come up. But
Don't expect
don't
people to
expect-
come
yeah.
up and praise you. You know, they'll come up and criticize
Yeah.
you. Yeah, that's what they'll do. So don't expect to be praised.
Absolutely. Another good opportunity, another point is opportunities come from risks.
Good.
If you don't take risks, you're not getting any opportunities. Is there anything you can sort of add?
Yeah, that's kind of what we were saying earlier. Remember when we were like, if you don't take any risks, you're going to be stagnant. And by being stagnant, obviously you don't have any opportunities. You're happy, okay, you're living your life, it's very simple, but what's the point? You're alive.
Exactly.
Why don't you live? We had an episode earlier, a few weeks ago, I think, about making sure you enjoy your life. And
exactly.
You live.
And it connects with that. You should definitely watch that episode, yeah.
Exactly, it connects with that. You can't enjoy your life unless you take risks. It doesn't just have to be related to work and whatever. You can take risks in hobbies. For example, with us, we keep talking about karting. We have to take, if you want a really good time, if you want to be very competitive, you need to be constantly taking risks.
You can take risk in relationships. Because I see certain people are always scared, I might get hurt. But if after, like we said, making a calculated risk that this person is actually right, now, is there a risk I might get hurt or the person might disappoint me? Yes. But that person, if it works out right, the benefit is way bigger.
But to be fair, in a relationship, the risk is always there. Because
absolutely,
you
always.
choose to trust this
person,
this person. And maybe eventually you guys, God forbid, get into like a fight, and that's it. You break up and whatever. So every bit of information that you told this girl about you is...
And that's a risk.
Gone. It's a risk.
But now, if that relation works out, you found a friend for life.
That's it.
And that's always the principle of life. There's always a risk attached to everything. Like he said, the bigger the risk, the bigger the reward.
Now, to follow on that, some career choices, if we want to go on to careers now, to come from hobbies and relationships to careers. Some career choices have higher risks than others. An example of that is a stockbroker. His job, or the biggest risk he could take, or the biggest negative effect of a risk for him, is losing money. That's the absolute worst case scenario for him. Now, if we go to a surgeon, the absolute worst case for a surgeon is to kill the patient. Obviously, that is a much higher risk relative to the stockbroker. But again, now another factor comes into it: mentality. The stockbroker lives in his own world, where for him, losing money is the epitome of a negative risk. Come to the doctor.
Totally different case. Yeah.
Totally different case. He'll look at the stockbroker as if he's like, what is he thinking about? What is he's worrying about the wrong things. He has his life. He should be very happy. He should be. So that's another factor that ties in.
That's a very good point. That's a very good point. And I think that's a very good example as well. And really helps to put everything into a context, and it really helps you to understand it better. The whole idea of higher the risk, higher the reward. And we've said it over 3 times now because it's really important. Another thing with risk is it helps you to learn. Even if you fail, you still learn, and that's why for me I find it very cringe-worthy when I use the word failure, because for me I see failure as kind of like a chance to learn, and that's one thing that taking risk would help you do. Because when you take the risk, whether you fail in quote or you succeed, you would have learned something. Now, most times when you fail, you learn more.
Why?
Than when you succeed.
Because when you fail, your flaws are highlighted, presented literally in front of your face.
Yeah.
You didn't pass because of A, B, C.
Absolutely.
Whereas if you succeed, you think, okay, I've succeeded. That means I did something right. But there's always ways to get better and improve. So you'd have to go digging to find ways for yourself to improve. That's the difference. And I think obviously the more, like you said, the more you fail, later on down the line, the more successful you'll become. If you're self-confident, if you still believe in yourself. And that's another episode we did a few weeks back as well.
I'll give you an instance. Over the summers, for instance, I started a blog, and the blog was good. It was alright. It was cognitive fate to deal with something else. And I started a Facebook page for it. Now, the Facebook page was absolutely unnecessary, and in a sense, I kind of consider that a failure on my part. But what did that teach me? It taught me, first of all, video editing, media editing, and basically, this kind of thing, being in front of a camera and all of that sort of stuff. And when Zach and I started talking about the ideas of On the Limit and Beyond Brains, that really kind of helped with that, prior knowledge. And he had some as well. It helped to give it a faster kickoff.
True.
And
again, that came. The example he's given you here came from a risk he took.
Yeah.
An initial risk. He had no experience, nothing. He comes in, fresh off the boat, cognitive fade, page.
Exactly.
I
made so many mistakes with video editing. So,
I thought
yeah.
it was good, honestly, but for him, he thinks he could have done much better.
Yeah.
And maybe looking at these videos relative to his,
Absolutely.
you can see a big difference. But that's he took a risk. It didn't really work out in his mind, and that's the only opinion that should matter. His, not mine or anyone else's. His, and he learned from it because he has an indestructible self-confidence, and that allows him to build and build and build for the future. And this
Absolutely,
is hopefully
man.
the start
Absolutely,
of something
man.
big for him.
I really couldn't add to that. That's very well said. Also,
Thank you.
I think there's another good point, which is that success is not going to come to you. I don't think that's even a point. That's kind of like almost, I would sort of say, mostly like kind of like a roundup. Success is not going to come to you.
No.
You're going to have to chase it. And one thing I believe, and I always say, is success is risk taking is kind of like the vehicle to chase success. So success is somewhere here, and you're here.
Yeah.
How you get from here, this point, to success is risk taking. That's the vehicle to get there.
Calculated risk.
Calculated, exactly.
Constantly.
Constantly,
Constant
all the way,
calculated risk.
all the way.
Because obviously you have a particular skill set. Maybe a year later, your skill set has improved largely. So you can take a higher risk, but that higher risk, whereas a year ago it would have been an idiotic risk, is now a calculated risk. And you take that calculated risk and you keep building on that year after year after year, and that's how you make progress.
And I can give you more examples of scenarios in life that explain why success can only come after taking risks. You're talking about your parachute, for instance, skydivers. Your parachute doesn't come out until you jump. Until you jump out the plane, your parachute doesn't come out. You look at birds, for instance, the little birds. Until they jump out of the nest, sometimes some of them fall, some of them die. But until they jump out of that nest, they would not achieve their full potential of
That's why we're wearing black.
Exactly. Of being the kings of the sky. Eagles lay their eggs in mountains, and then those chicks then have to jump down. And this is the process of life. Now you might get injured. There's going to be bruises along the way, mentally or physically. But until you make that concerted effort, that concerted decision that I will keep on taking risks, I will keep on making a move, that regardless, even when I fail, I will get back up and I'll get back up stronger, you're not going to get anywhere in life. You're going to be living a stagnant life, and it's just going to be boring.
Well said. 100%
Absolutely.
agree with that. That's it.
And the final note, you have to want to succeed as much as you want to breathe.